Good morning, everyone, and happy Sabbath. We thank the Lord that He has kept us up to this moment so that we can hear and fellowship today and rest and contemplate upon His word. Just before we start our Sabbath school or we start our presentation, I would just like to give a song that's in relation to our topic this morning. The song is entitled Jesus is Our Shelter. Jesus is the shelter in times of storm, a mighty power in times of war. And though we suffer and be distressed, He will come back our souls to redeem. Persecuted, struck down, hard pressed on every side, He will come back our souls to redeem. You have been to the sea, sailing all alone. Storms of life have come to destroy, but the Master has been waiting to listen to your cry. Call on Him today. He will rescue you. You have been to the battlefield, fighting all alone. You have fought and failed all alone. But the Master has been waiting to listen to your cry. Call on Him today. He will fight for you. Jesus is the shelter in times of storm, a mighty power in times of war. And though we suffer and be distressed, He will come back our souls to redeem. He will come back our souls to redeem. Thank you. I just want us to look at 2 Chronicles 20, verse 12. I just entitled our topic, Our Eyes Are Fixed on You, Lord. If you read 2 Chronicles 20, it's talking about the children of Moab and the children of Ammon gathering together to have a battle against Jehoshaphat. That time, Jehoshaphat was the king of Israel. We are not just going to talk about the whole issue, but I want us to focus mostly on the prayer of Jehoshaphat. Let's start with verse 12. 2 Chronicles 20, verse 12. It says, O our God, will thou not judge them? For we have no mighty against this great company that cometh against us, neither know we what to do, but our eyes are fixed upon thee. The song says Jesus is the shelter in times of storm, a mighty power in times of war. Although we suffer and be distressed, He will come back our souls to redeem. Sometimes we have been to the sea and sailed all alone. Sometimes we have been to the battlefield and fought alone and failed. But when we call upon Jesus, He will rescue us in the sea. and he will fight for us in the battlefield. Here we see Jehoshaphat as the king. He's faced with fear. He knew the combination of the two armies. They were so great of a nation, and he doesn't know what to do. But he says, nevertheless, or even if we do not have the power, even if we seem as if we are not going to win this war, our eyes are fixed upon thee, Jesus. I will read starting from verse 5. It says, that is Second Chronicles 20, verse 5. And Jehoshaphat stood in the congregation of Judah and Jerusalem in the house of the Lord before the new court. And he said, O Lord God of our fathers, art not thou God in heaven? And ruleth not thou over all the kingdoms of the heathen? And in thy hand is there not power and mighty, so that none is able to withstand thee? He is asking God a question. Are you not God in heaven? You know, he begins with a great prayer by recognizing the power of Yahweh, the power of God of the earth and the heavens, the power that God, he actually puts God in his position as the ruler of the universe, as the king. He doesn't care about other small gods that are around. He actually puts, oh God of our forefathers, art not thou God of the heavens, that ruleth over all the kingdoms? You know, other nations like the Moabites, other nations had their own gods, but he realizes that nevertheless, still his God, the God of his forefathers, was still the ruler of all other nations. He was beyond, he was still God who ruled everywhere because he is God who created the heavens and the earth. The point of 10 here is to know who God is to put God in his position. And it can only be done through having a personal walk with him. He knew the victories that God had. That is why he's referring to God as God of his forefathers. He knew God as the creator, as the ruler. You know, at times we face situations in life. At times we face the mighty giants. At times we face these battles. But we can never win when we do not put God in his positions. We can never win when we do see some small kingdoms as nothing and put God in his position. Let us have a personal walk with God, a personal experience with God, so that we will be able to say, are you not God who is the ruler of all the kingdoms? You know, when he goes on to verse 7, he says, art not thou our God, who didst drive out the inhabitants of this land before thy people Israel, and gaveth it to the seed of Abraham, thy friend forever? And he goes on to say, I will just read the whole text. And verse 8 says, and they went and they dwelt therein, and had built thee a sanctuary therein for thy name, saying, if when evil cometh upon us, as the sword, judgment, or pestilence, or famine, we stand before this house, and in thy presence, and cry unto thee in our affliction, then that will hear our prayer. And now behold, the children of Ammon and Moab and Mount Seir, whom thou wouldst not let Israel invade when they came out of the land of Egypt, but they turned from them and destroyed them not. Behold, I say, how they reward us, to come to cast us out of thy possession, which thou had givest us to inherit. O God, that's verse 12. Will thou not judge them? For we have no mighty against this great company that cometh against us, neither know we what to do, but our eyes are fixed upon thee. Are you not our God, who drove out the inhabitants of this land before your people Israel? You know, Jehoshaphat, he prays, recognizing the great work in the past. If God had done such great work before, if God had cleared and paved a way so that they get to that land, will not God sustain them? Will not God fight their battles? Will God take you this far to leave you? Will God push you this far to embarrass or humiliate you? No, that is not our God. Whatever you are going through, remember to look back and the previous victories and trust God that even in the midst of this situation or circumstance, He will carry you through. Set monuments of your life. Remind God, God, remember what you did. Remember the giants you drew away in my life. Remember the great things that you did up in my life. God remembers. And that is an assurance that you will have victory because you see the things that God did behind. You see the things that God did before, and you can have a clear confidence of the victories of the future. You know, when the king stands before his congregation and shows such sincerity and honesty and emptiness before his people, showing the people that I do not have answers to this circumstance that might befall us, but there is a God in heaven who has all the answers and the power to fight for us. He says, "For we have no power against thee, this multitude, nor do we know what to do, but our eyes are fixed upon thee." He confesses openly that he didn't have the answers, but only to look upon Jesus. He trusted fully in God. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not in your own understanding, but in all things acknowledge his ways, and he shall direct your path. That is the approach that this king had upon the situation that had befallen Israel. Oh, how often, saints, do we not trust in the merits of God? How often do we fix our eyes upon other people when we are faced with situations rather than fixing our eyes upon God? You know, I'm taken back to the situation of Stephen. He was stoned left, right, and center. But his eyes looked up, and as he gazes up, he sees the heavens open. I cannot say that he was not feeling the pain. The pain was there. But all I want to say is that his eyes were fixed upon Calvary. He was in connection with heaven. What more about battle are you fighting this morning? What situation is in your life, young people? What situation is in your life that you cannot hang your battle to God? What situation is in your life, families, that you cannot bring upon the Lord? They simply meant, Lord, our help. We do not want it to come anywhere else, but we just want to fix our eyes upon thee. I'm just going to run through and read verse 15. And he says, "Hearken ye all Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem, and thou King Jehoshaphat, that say the Lord unto you, be not afraid or dismayed by reason of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but God's." Verse 17 says, "Ye shall not need to fight in this battle. Set yourself, stand ye still, and see the salvation of the Lord with you. O Judah and Jerusalem, fear not, nor be dismayed. Tomorrow go out against them, for the Lord will be with you." God is pleading with them. God is talking to them. Stand ye still. When someone says stand still, he is saying stop whatever you are doing. Stop trying. Stop those briberies that you want to do in order to reach where you want to go. Stop the things that are dodgy. Stop all the efforts and just surrender to God and see His salvation and see Him fight your battles because God will be with you. The battle is not yours, but is the Lord. And God says to the Egyptians, when we read Exodus 14, verse 13, they also met the certain scenario. God says, the Egyptians that you see today, you shall see no more. Saints, God is able to do immeasurable more than all we can ask or imagine, according to his power that he is at work within us. That is Ephesians 30, verse 20. God is able to fight our battles. Let us stand still. Let us hear his voice. Let us take heed. Let us fix our eyes upon him. I'm taken back to a story of a traveler who went about his adventure journey. He liked just to go around the mountains. And as he travels around, seeing the place, climbing up the steeper places of the mountain, he is guided by a guide. And as he approaches the steeper stones, they start shaking and fall down. And he is so scared. Now he looks at the guide who is leading him. He is even scared to stretch his hand or to ask for help, as if the guide that was walking with him had not escorted some people through that narrow path, had not escorted some people uh, through that mountain. He hesitates and he asks the guide to hold his hand. For a little while, he pulls his hand back ashamed. And all this is happening at the guard's watch. You know, with a little gentle voice, the guard has been waiting. The guide has been looking and seeing that he is indeed in a predicament of fear. And then he says to him with a nice, gentle voice, encouraging him, forge ahead. And he holds his hand and says, take my hand, for these hands never let go. Take my hand. Take God's hand this morning, for his hand will never let go. There is a God above, saints, greater than the human guide that we are talking about. He says the path is not easy. The begle can hit up. It might be steep, it might be rugged, it might be scary, but he says, I have traveled this path before. There is no infirmity. We are called to endure that which God has not gone through. There is no circumstance, even amidst this time, when we are not sure of certain things, when the situation is not clear, when the future is so bleak, we are not sure of a lot of things. But God says this morning, I am the great guide. I have walked this path with other people. They have made it through the other side. There is no infirmity that you will go through which I have not overcome, which I will allow you to go through, that I will not pass you through with. There is a quote that I like the most from the book The Faith I Live by Ellen G. White. It says, we need not look into the future with anxiety, for God has made it possible for us to be overcomers every day. Whatever comes our way, God has weighed it and said, my son, my daughter, this cup for today is sufficient. And he trusts us to trust in him, that he will make us conquer every situation that we face each and every day. Remember, whatever problems you face, God has weighed it. God had said, today you will make it. This cup will not overwhelm you. This cup will not pull you down. You just have to trust me. You just have to put your hand in mine and allow me to guide you. Remember, saints, whatever we might forget, remember to fix your eyes upon the Lord, for you do not have answers, all the answers to what you are going through. Hold on to his hand that never lets go. You know, the song that we sing often says, have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it all to the Lord in prayer. Sometimes we are so wearied. Sometimes we are overweighted with the burdens of life just because we do not trust to take our hands in the hand of God who can carry us through. Let us hold on to his hand and remember that our eyes must be fixed upon the Lord. May God bless us and keep us and guide us as we remember to hold his hand always. Amen.